I am starting a campaign to accelerate disclosure. The power of it depends on whether or not you are willing to get involved, whether or not you're willing to not be complacent about the most important subject on our planet. I think it's incumbent upon all of us to do more than raise awareness of the phenomenon and cover news stories about it. I think we need to all partake in a plan that is highly strategic and brings about an outcome that we all highly desire. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to make an argument for why I'm highly suspicious that the United States government has within its possession at least one smoking gun that demonstrates a non-human intelligence beyond the scope of humanity present on our planet. And this argument is going to consist of 3 separate UFO cases. After I make this argument, I'm going to give you the incredibly simple and easy instructions on how to engage in this campaign that could change our world. Case 1. On November of 2004, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group encountered anomalous aerial vehicles over the course of several days. On one of those days, the commanding officer for the VFA 41 Black Aces, Commander David Fravor, who at the time had 16 years of flight experience and logged well over 3,500 flight hours, intercepted an oblong object 40 feet in length that we call the Tic Tac because that's the way it's shaped. When he first saw the object, he relays that it was bouncing around like a ping pong ball, something that no vehicle in any military inventory can accomplish. Not a missile, not a helicopter, not a fighter plane, not a drone. He also conveys that at one point, the object went from a standstill and darted off well over hypersonic speed. Again, nothing can do that. He saw the object along with the 3 other plane occupants. So all 4 plane occupants saw the object with their eyeballs for at least 5 minutes in length. And it was a day where it was very sunny and the visibility was absolutely superb. Beyond the corroboration of 4 separate flight occupants visually seeing the object for 5 minutes, there was a subsequent flight that came off the USS Nimitz that captured this object using TV mode and IR mode capture. Here's a direct quote by Commander David Fravor about him seeing the video footage captured and conveying that it was a higher resolution than what was released to the public.
When you look at the high-res video, that good luck finding it, but the original video that we had, so literally right off the jet recorders and putting on our monitors, so we're watching it on a 21-inch or 20-inch TV. You can see in the TV mode because the Wizzo, the backseat of the other airplane, is going between IR, which is the infrared mode, to an EO, which is electro-optical, which is TV, black and white. When he goes into the TV mode, he's pretty zoomed in. You can see there's 2 little things that stick out of the bottom of it.
And so you had mentioned to me they were L-shaped appendages underneath the vehicle, the Tic Tac?
Yeah, like if you're looking at it, go about, 20%, 25% down and kind of come out and make like a little L to the right, like a little down 90 degrees, just a little, they almost look like little feet just sticking out the bottom. Could be antennas.
Were both of the L shapes going to one side or the other, or were there 2 symmetrical?
Yeah, I believe they both went to the right. So we're looking at it, it goes off to the left side, so they came down and pointed up to the right. They don't go that far down. I mean, the way they're zoomed in, they're pretty close to the object, the zoom-wise.
Case number 2. Recently, the New York Times published an article about a spate of UAP encounters off the eastern seaboard of the United States that have been impacting flight operations from the summer of 2014 into 2015 for roughly a 9-month period. In this bombshell article, Lieutenant Ryan Graves and Danny Aucoin give information to the New York Times about their UAP encounters, but there were actually also 3 other pilots that relayed information to the New York Times, but didn't want to release their names. So that's 5 pilots altogether, and that's just for starters. Tyler Rogoway of thedrive.com provides us with even more information than the New York Times did. He has a source that relays that it wasn't just the Red Ribbon Squadron that Danny Acoin and Ryan Graves were part of that were having encounters with these UFOs. But most of the fighting squadrons from the same base that were equipped with the new radar equipment were witnessing and encountering these UFOs. We're talking a serious amount of fighter pilots. It's an insane number, something in the realm of 60 fighter pilots. Beyond that, crews from the E-2 Hawkeye that were also upgraded with better radar equipment were also having encounters with these UFOs. If all of this wasn't enough, one of Tyler Rogoway's sources relays that beyond seeing these objects through the use of very sophisticated sensors, many of these pilots have actually seen these objects visually with their eyeballs. And all of them describe these objects in the same precise way. That is, they are spherical, they are translucent, and they have black cubes inside of these spheres where the corners are touching the spheres. And Chris Mellon has conveyed that these objects are often witnessed going hundreds of miles an hour and sometimes even flying in formation. Ryan Graves has reported that the gimbal video that was released to the public is a much lower resolution and a much shorter video than the rendition that he saw while he was on the USS Roosevelt. He gives new details about the video that wasn't released to the public. He says that he saw a bunch of little objects on the video in a V formation, rotating in unison and flying off into the distance, eventually off the screen. He also conveys that the saucer-shaped vehicle, which we call the gimbal, but he said it actually looked more like a gyroscope, at one point shoots off into the distance at very high rates of speed. So not only has he seen a much higher resolution video than was released to the public, but it's much more multifaceted as well. Case number 3, Big Sur UFO incident. It occurred in the fall of 1964 at Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. Lieutenant Robert Jacobs was tasked with filming missile launches on a remote mountaintop on the Big Sur coastline using a powerful telescopic camera. Ascending ICBMs would initially fill the camera frame, providing details on engine performance, staging, and other aspects of any given launch as the missile would race out over the Pacific Ocean. Following one such launch test, Lieutenant Jacobs was unexpectedly asked to report to the office of Major Florence Mansman, a photographic analyst. Upon arriving at Major Florence Mansman's office, Lieutenant Jacobs noticed 2 men in gray suits. He later discovered that they were CIA officers. A motion picture projector had been set up, and without explanation, Major Mansman turned it on and told Lieutenant Jacobs, "Watch this." On the screen was the film that Lieutenant Jacobs shot the day earlier. What you see is the nose cone of the missile opens, and out comes shaft. After that, the dummy warhead starts flying along. And it's traveling at 6,000 to 8,000 miles per hour, and at this point, it's on the fringe of space. Suddenly into the frame, a flying saucer appears, and it's traveling at the same speed as the warhead, and it starts doing a polar orbit around the warhead. So this is the warhead, and it goes here, it shoots a beam. It moves a little bit more, shoots another beam, moves a little bit more, shoots another beam, moves a little bit more, shoots another beam. It shoots a total of 4 beams at the warhead, and subsequently, the warhead tumbles out of the frame because the flying saucer disabled it, and then the flying saucer exits the same way that it came into the frame. The film is over and the lights are switched on. Major Mansman says to Lieutenant Jacobs, "Lieutenant Jacobs, were you guys screwing around out there?" Lieutenant Jacobs responds, "No, sir." Major Mansman responds, "What the hell was that thing?" Lieutenant Jacobs responds, "Well, sir, looks like we got ourselves a UFO." Major Mansman responds, "Lieutenant Jacobs, you are never to speak of this again. This never happened." Decades later, Dr. Mansman, then researcher at Stanford University, informed Dr. Jacobs that when he left, the CIA officers confiscated the film of the amazing UFO incident and conveyed to Dr. Mansman that the film and the occurrence is classified top secret. Mansman also confirmed in letters to various researchers that before the CIA officers were able to whisk away the film, he was able to do a thorough frame-by-frame analysis using a magnifier, and by doing so, he was able to look at the UFO in incredible detail. One commonality of all the UFO cases I shared that you should readily be aware of is that they all involve video. The USS Nimitz, November 2004. Commander David Fravor has gone on the record and stated unequivocally that when he was on the ship, he saw a higher resolution version, so high of a resolution, in fact, that he could see appendages coming out of the Tic Tac object. Ryan Graves, he went on the record as well, and he stated that he saw a higher resolution of the gimbal video. But not only that, it was longer and multifaceted. It showed other objects and doing all kinds of interesting maneuvers. But he was not the only one. There are others that have stated that there is more to the gimbal video than we mere mortals have witnessed. Here's an excerpt from the New York Times article that covered Ryan Graves and the spate of UFOs from the summer of 2014 into 2015. What was strange, the pilots said, was that the video showed objects accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew. And then there was the Big Sur, fall of 1964, Vandenberg Air Force Base UFO incident. This one's tough. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I absolutely believe that Dr. Robert Jacobs was telling the truth. I absolutely believe that Florence Mansman, Major Florence Mansman, was telling the truth, that on that fateful day, they witnessed on a monitor a UFO coming into the screen, shooting laser beams at the warhead, and the warhead falling out of the screen, and then the flying saucer exiting just as it entered. If this event is true, and we got to take this seriously, these are not clowns. They were connected with the nuclear arsenal of the United States of America. Lieutenant Robert Jacobs has been telling the same story for decades. Florence Mansman, Major Florence Mansman, corroborates it. Be upset. If that story is true, then somewhere within the walls of the NSA or the walls of the CIA or the walls of the Pentagon, I have no idea where, but somewhere, that video still exists. And what does it showcase? It showcases a flying saucer shooting lasers at a warhead. We are in a crisis. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you work for. I don't know what you're thinking. But if that video exists, and Lieutenant Robert Jacobs and Major Florence Mansman are not crazy and they're competent, you have a smoking gun. And you're keeping it within the confines of some building somewhere where the rest of us are walking around clueless. The scientific community, the theological community, the journalistic community, and the academic community. Every community under the sun is clueless. Why would you do this? Now this brings us to the Ask the Question campaign. I could explain to you how to fulfill this campaign, but I think it's better that I show you. It is the most easy and simplest thing you will ever do in your entire life. It needn't take longer than 10 seconds. I hope you will stand with me and ask the question. Dear U.S. government, is there an entity within the U.S. national security apparatus that possesses evidence that equates to a smoking gun, demonstrating that a non-human intelligence is among us? Hashtag ask the question. Ask the question instructions. On any social media site of your choice, ask the US government in your own words if they have even just one smoking gun that would inform humanity that we are not alone in the universe, whatever that means. End your question with the hashtag ask the question. You can pose this question on any social media site of your choice, whether Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, your own blog, your own website. The point is to take it from the mind and take it from sound waves when we talk, or talking about it by the water cooler, and to put it into a place that is more permanent, has more prominence, and more people can be exposed to it, which is to put it into the realm of social media. By asking this very simple question in unison, hopefully millions of people around the world, we send a glaring message to whoever is in possession of these smoking guns that we want to know. We don't want to be left in the dark. We don't agree that it is appropriate to classify facts about the universe. And obviously, those in possession of these smoking guns have an understanding that people want to know. They're not stupid, but their understanding is not good enough. Let's take that understanding up many notches by being very vocal and taking action and doing the opposite of complacency and expressing it explicitly over and over again in social media and otherwise, and raise the awareness around the world that we want to know the truth, and we want to be exposed to the truth, and we want to discuss the truth. Right now, we are living in a situation where the truth is embargoed. There is a UFO cover-up. It's obvious. ATIP was... We didn't even know about ATIP until December 16th of 2017. The former Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, the number one guy in the Pentagon, was being insulated from this subject. This is real. There's a UFO cover-up. This is not a fantasy. This is not an inaccurate conspiracy theory. This is real. Let's send that message in unison. There's no barrier to entry. It takes you 5 seconds. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't say it won't work. It will raise awareness. It will send an explicit message to those who have possession of the smoking guns that we do not agree with that. Do not let those who are in possession of the smoking guns to just have an understanding that we want to know. Let's bombard them with an explicit request that we want to know. I'm going to take the liberty to ask 4 people that I know to engage in this campaign. That said, if you have a large platform, you have a small platform, you have 1 million followers on Twitter, you have 1 follower on Twitter, I don't care. I want every single one of you to partake in this. There's basically no barrier. If you have 10 seconds, you can engage the campaign and raise awareness of the desire of every human being, or most human beings on this planet, to know the truth. YouTube channel Engaging the Phenomenon, I ask that you partake in this campaign. Website silverrecord.com, I ask that you partake in this campaign. Website the-unidentified.net, I ask that you partake in this campaign. Twitter @KickPlenty, I ask that you partake in this campaign. We all love to complain that the United States government will not reveal the smoking guns that they almost certainly have, that demonstrates that there is a non-human intelligence beyond the scope of humanity that is present on our planet. We love to complain about that. But can I plead with you to take 10 seconds and harness that energy that you usually use to complain and simply ask the question. Do it on any social media site of your choice, whether Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, your own personal blog, your own website, doesn't matter. You could ask the question such as the following. Dear U.S. government, Do you have a smoking gun that demonstrates that there is an intelligence beyond the scope of humanity that is present on our planet? Hashtag ask the question. Do not forget the hashtag ask the question. If you take 10 seconds of your time to do this, you'll inspire other people to do it. If other people do it, they'll inspire other people to do it. Let's start a fire that spreads across the world and raises up the awareness that every human being, or almost every human being, wants to know the truth. You cannot classify facts. Ask the question. Do it. I thank you. Dear U.S. government, is there an entity within the U.S. national security apparatus that possesses evidence that equates to a smoking gun, demonstrating that a non-human intelligence is among us? Hashtag ask the question.